Okay, welcome back everyone to part 2 of our SDL for Kids tutorial. In part 2, we're going to talk about characterization. So that's where you measure, for example, a material, or in our case, where you measure the color on your screen. So let's just get started with section 1. So in section 1, we're going to measure colors using the BBC microbit. So I've got that prepared here. This is what the little microbit controller looks like. It has a front and a back, and we're going to connect it later here on the USB. And so in this section 1, we're going to program it. And so as a first step, we're going to have to take the EnviroBit here. So that's the extension with the color sensor. I'm going to have to plug it into the microbit. So make sure that the microbit writing and the EnviroBit writing are both on the same side. And then you can plug it in here, just like that. And then now you have the color sensor here. So we're going to take that and hold it onto the screen later on. So now I've plugged it in. I can now plug it into the USB slot here, and then you will see the color start blinking red or yellow depending on what system you have. And now the BBC microbit is ready to be programmed. I'm just going to hang it here over the side of my laptop screen. Okay, we're going to use the make code programming environment, and I'm going to use Google Chrome to use that environment because that will be easier to program it. So I'm just going to open Chrome here, and I'm going to go to make code. I'm going to open that, and then here I can just click on new project. I'm going to call it SDL for Kids. Okay, so now we've got the programming environment open, and let's see what we have to put into that. So I've got my new project, and in section 2 we have the instructions of how to program the microbit. So this is what we're looking for to program it. So it's simple drag and drop. And so we first need to get into the extensions here and then search for EnviroBit and then add that to our microbit program. So let's see what we got here. So this is the extension section, and then here I can search for EnviroBit. And then I can just click on it, and that way we've now added the EnviroBit capabilities to our microbit. Okay, so as the next step, we're gonna do drag and drop to create this program. And let's see what we need. So we need a serial on data received section. So that's in the advanced section down here on the left. And I click on serial, and then I pull in serial on data received. And then when the microbit receives a comma on the serial line, so that's through the USB cable, it will do whatever we put in the middle here. So what we want to do is we want to write the line. So basically it gets a request with a comma, and then it will reply with a line of some text. But what is that text? So that text is going to be the joining of 5 elements. So we got red, green, and blue. And let's see what we got. So we need a text section, and then we have here the join section. I'm just going to put that in here. And then we need 5 parts. So 3, 4, 5. And then it will just drop down like this. And so now, since we loaded the EnviroBit environment, we can click on that, and then we have color and light, and then we get the measurements. So we need RGB, so first red, then we need green in RGB. Oops. So you see when the 2 red dots align, you can put it in there. Then here again, 2 red dots align, and then we've got RGB, so blue is missing here. And we're going to separate those with some minus signs or a dash, so that way we can separate later the message that the microbit sends us. Okay, so we get RGB, and then finally here we also wanted to play a tone, so every time it makes a measurement, we actually wanted to give us a little bit of feedback. So play tone just here after it's written the serial, and then play a tone for, just a 16th of a beat, so pretty fast. Okay. Alternatively, you can also copy and paste the code here into the code section. So this is the drag and drop area. It automatically converts into JavaScript, and then you can just copy and paste it over here. That's probably much faster, but depending on what your needs are, you prefer one over the other. Okay, so now we've got the program. Now we got to put it on a microbit. So let's connect the microbit here on the bottom left. Let's just make sure there's enough room, and then we can click here on connect device. So we've got it already plugged in. It's here with the light on, and I'm going to click on next. I'm going to click on pair. Then the microbit appears, and I click on connect. Wonderful. So now it's available to be programmed. We can fill it with all kinds of programs, and then we just press download. So we'll now take the program, put it onto the microbit, and we're good to go. That's all we need to do. If you don't want to use Google Chrome, you can use the alternative programming instructions here. So just follow this link and follow the instructions here. That will get you started as well. Now just make sure here, follow the note that we disconnect from the microbit here and that we close Google Chrome, because Google Chrome otherwise will continue to communicate with the microbit and it will confuse and interfere with the messages that we're trying to get. So make sure Google Chrome is closed, and so that way we can make better messages. Okay, section 2 is done. Now we just got to connect with the microbit, so we will use the serial library here. So just load that up. And then this function here on a Unix system or a Mac system, it will give you a list of all the USB devices you have right now. And then in my case, I actually have some music devices, you know, some headphones. And then finally here's the USB modem 1102. So this is actually the microbit. So I can just copy and paste this here into the name section. And so in this cell here, we create a serial connection. We create it with this specific USB device, and then we can just run it. And then it seems to be successful. And now we can use that connection to write a comma to the microbit. And the microbit then, as we had just programmed it here with the block, will reply with a message to us. So let's see what happens when I do that. There we go. So maybe you heard the sound as well. And it seems like we're not getting a good message here, but actually the first message that the microbit sends is usually a bit rubbish. So the second one here is actually now fine. And as I keep querying for more measurements, it will get me more measurements. So you see here, we got 80 red, 97 green, and then 92 blue. I'm just gonna move the microbit a bit. There we go. So that's already a different color, and that's a good sign. That probably means it's working. Okay, so as we go ahead, you wanna make sure that when we have the microbit here, we're holding it onto the screen and in the area where we are creating or rendering or synthesizing our color, so that the sensor can have the best measurement of what's going on. Right, so section 4, making the connection robust. So this is the specific step 2 tutorial, and here I'm gonna go over the specific details we wanna add to our characterization function. So I'm defining a function here called characterization, but that one has a few bells and whistles with it, because unfortunately the connection isn't that stable, and we need to validate and make sure that the data we do receive from the microbit is actually valid. Specifically, if there are no 3 numbers that we receive, we will just measure again. If the numbers aren't between 0 and 255, we will measure again. And if those validations fail 25 times in a row, it probably means there's a serious issue with the microbit and the measurement, and so we'll stop measuring and give an error. So I'm just defining this function in the cell here. I'm loading it up, and let's call the function here, and wonderful, we got a measurement. Just gonna try it again, another measurement. And then here, we're just gonna do a loop. We're gonna get 30 measurements. Here, you see that. I'm gonna move the microbit a bit around. Now I'm pointing it at a different part of the screen. I'm pointing it at the ceiling, pointing it down, and you see every time we get a different color measurement. So that seems solid. Okay, that means we can probably just jump to section 5. And if you've done step 1 of the tutorial, you're already familiar with the random color function and the calculate error function. So we're just gonna take that last step from step 1 of the tutorial, and that last cell included a window that generated random colors, calculated the errors, and showed some stuff. But in this case, we're gonna just switch out the current color with the characterize function. So this is the only change we're making in the code compared to the previous tutorial. And so the characterize function, as we just saw, will send the request to the microbit, ask for the current color it's seeing in the sensor, and then give it back to us. So as I run this, I'm gonna hold the microbit onto the screen, and we're gonna see what measurements it makes. So again, we're making a few random colors here, and those measurements here, they're coming from the microbit, and this arrow here is calculated with our arrow function. And we also do keep and save those arrow values, so we can display them later in a plot, and this is what it looks like. So we see here, again, actually the first color that we generated was the closest to red, which is our target color. And we can just run this here again, so maybe we get a bit of a different result. 10 more colors, 10 more random colors, that is. And so here, again, we can plot the result, and we see that, in this case, the 7th color was closer to red. And so these are now measured with the microbit from your screen. Here's a little cell as well that will just take the arrow values and show you what the exact error is and the right iteration. And so now we've got a setup with a microbit where we can measure colors. So we've covered step 1, which is the synthesis of a color on the screen. Step 2, which is characterization, so measuring, how good that color is. And then in the next tutorial, in step 3, we're going to look at planning. So we're going to have to figure out which colors we want to try and which ones are promising to get us closest to our goal color. So stay tuned for that, and I'll see you in the next tutorial.